guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is a scene card, but a little bit different. So I am using the Farmhouse Fields Scene Builder, the die and the stencil. And then I am also using the sentiment set. It is WOWS stamps and dies. So this die fits basically either orientation. So landscape or portrait. I'm going to do mine in portrait today. And then it has this, why can't I think of the name of what it is? It's like the little farmhouse add-on. So it's got like a little farmhouse and a silo and a tractor, and it's really cute. I'm just going to be using the house today. You could also use the houses, the little cabins that came with the lakeside. We released those with those. That would work really well too, because I just really wanted to do this scene. So I ran the die through, I laid it down so that I could mark where my horizon line would be so that I could start doing my ink blending. We're going to be doing lots of ink blending for this card, but then we're going to be adding some details that are really kind of going to bring the whole thing alive. If you remember, several months ago, we did a scene with the stencils for the palm trees, and then we added details on top of it to bring the whole scene to life. And today we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to show you how to do it for a fall feel, for an autumn feel, because we are heading into, fall and autumn weather. And there's a couple of, different scene builder, stencil, and die combinations that Honeybee has that you could use this with. I just have not had the opportunity to use this particular one before, and I was really excited to get to use it. So I wanted my scene to be set at kind of sunset. So you see I'm doing the yellow, and then I'm doing the saltwater taffy, which is more of an orangey kind of pink. And then from there, I am going to add some blue to the sky. The salvage patina is going to be my like mid-tone color that's going to help me kind of blend the sunset colors into the blue sky that's still there. And then for the tippy top, we're going to go salty ocean, so it does actually look blue. Later on, I think I do add in some picked raspberry, just a little bit, just because I was feeling like I wasn't loving the way it was looking. So here I'm laying that there so I can see where I need to put, like, kind of concentrate my darker color. And I'm doing that with the fossilized amber. And once I'm done with the actual, like, what you're going to see, I am going to go back in with a little bit of, the crushed olive at the bottom, just so I'm not going to see any of that white peeking through when I go to glue my die cut onto my background. So before we get too far into this, if you are watching on Saturday, October 5th, it is World Card Making Day. Happy World Card Making Day. There's lots of sales going on, and I will try to update my sales page. I know several of you very kindly like to shop through those links, as it's a way to support me that doesn't cost you anything, and I'm very grateful for that. But please, only if you're going to be doing shopping. That's, don't bankrupt yourself to support me. But Honeybee is having a sale, and they are having a 20% store-wide sale. So everything is 20%. There is no code needed. It will just come off the cart, like when you go to checkout, and it is it's 20%. And so they also have that like clearance sale section, which they're always adding stuff to, and it is an additional 20% off those markdowns, which is such, I cannot even tell you the savings that is there. But anyway, there's some other ones, Trinity Stamps is having a sale. Aaron Lee Creative is having a sale. I think, I'm trying to think if there's any. Anyway, there's a lot of things on sale because people are, doing world card making. Aaron Lee Creatives, hers is going towards the hurricane relief for North Carolina and those areas that have been just tore up. If you are a person who lives in one of those areas who was hit by the hurricane, please know that you're in my prayers. It's a hard time right now, and so the only thing that we can do really is just, kind of lift them up in prayer. And if you financially, if you can, support them. I know the dispatch center that I used to work for, they sent down their emergency response team. That's one of the things with being a 911 dispatcher, that you can sign up to be part of an emergency response team, which will then travel to places that need help. Specifically, they went to Asheville, North Carolina. And there was, I think, like 5 or 6 of them, because their first responders, including dispatchers, have been working around the clock. They were, napping underneath their desks. They couldn't leave to go see their families. So they went down to relieve them, to give them a break, which I think is fantastic. And honestly, if that would have been an option before I had small kids, I absolutely would have done that as well when I was younger. So let's talk about the cart. Okay. So here you can see I'm going in and I am doing colors you would expect. We have green grass and, some yellow or some brown hills, because this is supposed to be like farmland soil that's been tilled or planted. The only time that that's any different is for my background trees and this one big tree that's right up front. And you can see that I am adding multiple colors. This is going to help make the scene more interesting and more dynamic. And those beautiful fall colors that we like to see. And I am fortunate that I live in Ohio. So while the bummer is that I have snow, the privilege is that I have all 4 seasons, which means we do get to see the leaves change and these really beautiful fall colors kind of showing off. The other stencil, this is the only one that isn't part of that scene, like with the die cut, is this one, and it is called Clouds. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Kelly, you've already put down color. How are you even going to see these clouds? I am going to go over my clouds with a white pigment ink. And once it dries, it is going to be really soft. You won't be able to see it as bold, but it does add to the feel of the scene. And if you wanted them to be more opaque, you could add like an embossing powder over them and make them really solid. But I liked the translucent look that they had. When I was lining up my stencils, I did leave myself this little bit of a border, and I didn't love that. I wanted it to be all blended in. So after I was done stenciling, I did go back in and hit up those edges just to blend everything in. And I had no issues with that. For my little farmhouse, I am cutting everything out of white. My intention is to have my house white, but I am also going to, copic color the kind of accessories, because I knew... I love all of the sentiments in this. And if you're not a religious person, maybe they won't resonate with you, but like, I love the sentiments in this. It is Well With My Soul. That's one of my favorite songs. Even If You Don't is the name of the song. Like, I cannot tell you how many, just rough times that song has gotten me, it's just such a good song. It's such a good song. Look it up if you don't know it. But then there's, Praise God from Whom All Blessings Flow. May God Bless Your Home. Praying for You. God Is My Refuge. Like, I love all of the things that this particular sentiment set speaks. But then it also has this one, which is Country Roads Take Me Home. Now, you guys have heard me say over the years, that I'm a fan of old country music, not new country music, because recording it in Nashville does not a country song make. And I still feel that way. But Country Roads Take Me Home is a song by John Denver. And I have listened to it several times over the years. When I was a much younger woman, when I was, my best friend and I kind of impromptu decided that we had off of work for a week and we were going to drive down to the Carolinas. When we crossed the bridge, into West Virginia, just singing John Denver at the top of our lungs. So I really love that sentiment. I think it's very playful. So if like in this case, I don't necessarily have a more serious card that I need to send. So I opted to go with that for my sentiment just because I don't know, it reminds me of like my youth and it just makes my heart happy. But anywho, back to the coloring. So we're coloring the house white. We're adding the shadows with the gray markers, leaving the majority of it white, but just adding in those shadows. For the roof, I did, some much darker grays and some black. And then for that little chimney, I shaded it with the white all over and then kind of did little side, like little pounces almost with the side of your marker. And those little pounces are pretty much how we're going to add all of the detail throughout the scene. I also did like a little red door to tie that in. Now I could have done more shading on the door, but I chose not to. And then the same thing for the windows. Like I just added a little bit of yellow kind of up from the bottom, because since it is dusk and like the sun is setting, like you would maybe start to see some of those lights on in the house. And again, just like I went around the edges with my ink blending from the base of my card, I'm going to do that also for my lovely layers so that I don't have any white edges peeking out from behind my black roof. So I'm just going to go ahead and build this. Those little pounces or like a more round dot would be stippling. This is a super easy way, and it goes by really fast. I mean, I know you'd think to yourself like, oh, I'm covering up my, I'm coloring the whole card, it's going to take forever. But because you're doing those little pounces, it really doesn't take as much time as you would think. So we'll be doing that in just a few minutes. So just hang tight while we build this little farmhouse. It has like the little trim that you add onto the top of the roof and then onto like the front porch. And then, the two different layers of roof to start to, bring those together. For the door, it just, you just put it right on the house. Like there's no little notch for it. But the windows, so you can choose to do them a couple of different ways. I choose to pop out the middle dots. I guess you could use those, to maybe show like a portion of it, the window was dark or the curtains were closed or something like that. I chose not to put in the inside portion of the window, so I put the frame around it and the trim underneath it. And then how I'm going to put my windows is I'm going to add glue to like the center bar of that window trim. And that is what's going to hold it in place until I can get the whole thing glued down to the actual stenciled background. So here you can see, even with just the ink blending, it's really pretty. There's a lot going on with all these different colors, but now we're going to go in and really kind of add those details, add that contrast, and help it to kind of sing. So with the die cutting plates for this scene, it does emboss a lot of detail in there, which I love. And with grasses, kind of the way that it works is the longer flick that you have of the grass, the more kind of unmanageable the grass looks. So like if you're flicking your grass and you're doing like really long flicks, it's going to look like the grass hasn't been cut in ages. So what I'm doing is, instead of doing really long flicks, I'm doing a combination of shorter flicks and those little side pounces that's going to help fill in this grass area. I did choose colors that were more like jewel toned or bolder colors that you would typically see in the fall. So that's what you see me using here. And we're not, even though it looks like it, we're not completely covering up all of that ink blending. We're using that ink blending as a base. And it's the same thing for the, like this little hill here. There's lots of detail that's been embossed in the hill. So with the darkest color, I'm doing that little side pounce. For the actual tree, I'm adding the darkest color really just kind of underneath the limbs, and maybe in some of the little like Y joints where the branches are meeting, adding a little bit of shading there. And then more towards the bottom, like more towards the base of the tree, I did do a couple of little flicks of the darker brown. The mid-tone is what you're going to see the most of. And again, I'm just going over, there's all this detail that's embossed in there. So I'm just following the embossed detail that's in there, going in the same shape. For the hill, I did add a little bit of shading kind of to the left and right hand sides. And then of course the bottom of the hill, because it's supposed to be tucked behind the grasses. And then pretty much my lightest color is just going to help me kind of blend that out, so that everything looks really nicely. I know it looks a little off right now because we have all of that detail in the tree trunk, but none in the leaves. But just, again, hang tight, it'll come together. So for our final hill that's kind of in the back right-hand corner, I chose to do it in some yellows. And then I'm using a yellow and then some golden browns to add the details. And for this, once again, I'm following those embossed lines that are already there. So I, just extended them out with my mid-tone and then blended everything out kind of with my lightest color. And just like I said before, we're not completely covering up the ink blending. We are just using it as a base color. So here is the vast majority of that little side pounce. So you want to kind of hold your marker so that it's more parallel to your work surface instead of being like straight up and down. And this will help you to create those little leaf shapes, that it's just like the side of your marker. And I am starting with reds, and then wherever I put the red, in this case it was that lumberjack plaid, wherever I put the red is where I'm putting the red leaves, and then I'm letting those little pounces kind of extend out. I chose just a couple of different colors, a couple of different greens, some that match the grass and are a little bit more desaturated. Same thing with the oranges. I went with a YR09, which is very bright, and then a YR18, which is not, just so that there would be a lot of interest. This is obviously sped up because it does take a minute. And then just as I moved into the next color, like the oranges into the yellows, I let the orange extend into the yellow a little bit. But then I also brought that yellow back through the layers that are orange and red, because alcohol markers are transparent. And when you're laying down lighter colors over darker colors, it will remove color and help them to blend a bit better. So all of these things are the same. We've done like the side, like little pouncing throughout the whole thing to create those leaf shapes. But in doing so and bringing them all together, it adds a ton of detail. So it looks like you have all of these majestic colored leaves that are changing color. So once I'm done with that, then I can go ahead. You could absolutely like pop these up to create even more dimension, but I like the idea of having it just be more of a one layer. Well, it's not one layer, but a flat scene, if you will. So I just glued my die cuts down flat. For the sentiment, like I told you before, I chose that Country Roads Take Me Home, and I am going to stamp it with black just on white paper, and then do some ink blending to blend it into my scene. But yeah, this one was just, I think it came out maybe like a year or two ago. I don't know. I hadn't had a chance to really use it, but I love it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I love a scene. And I know sometimes that we don't always have a ton of time, or maybe we're just not at the level that other card makers are at to create scene cards. So these types of scene builders that you see from companies are really helpful to, help us kind of create the cards cards that we want to. So I added that shading to my die cut, and like right now the roads and home isn't blending into the tree. I'm just going to go, once I've glued it in place, I'm going to go right back over it with some of the like more seasoned colors that we have on the ink blending brushes, and just add what I can to help it blend. I did use my white gel pen to add some white highlights to kind of like the tops of the trees, a little bit in the fields and the house, because, you know, this is like the golden hour. That's what photographers call it, because everything is really kind of like bathed in this really pretty gold light. So instead of using my regular clear shimmer, I did use a gold to go over, you know, my things. And then this is it. This is the whole card. So I hope you will check out those sales. I hope that this inspires you to help make some scene cards with a bit more detail. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.